Okay, so something very different for today's video. We're going to take a look at a video request sent to me by Marta, who is a channel member. If you want to have a look at the membership options, you've just got to click on the blue button under all of these videos where you can see different payment options in order to get exclusive content and personalized content. Anyway, let's get into what Marta has requested for today's video. This is the message she sent me via WhatsApp, and I think basically what the idea is she wants to see some examples of and an explanation of the differences between the perfect tenses. I think it's the difference between the perfect simple and perfect continuous tenses in past, present and future, which sounds initially like an easy thing to explain, but I think a lot of natives would actually have a difficult time explaining the specific differences in certain contexts. So we're going to have a look at that. I'm going to try and give some real world examples. I'm going to use myself as an example. I'm going to talk about myself and what can I describe about my life in terms of present perfect simple, present perfect continuous, future perfect continuous, future perfect simple, and past perfect simple, past perfect continuous. And you'll see that with examples, it starts to make a lot more sense, I think. Yeah, and I've made this video public today. I don't always make the video requests public because I'm not sure that they're useful to a wider audience, but I feel like this one is one that a lot of people might struggle with, and I hope that this video is going to help a lot of people. So let's get into it without further ado.
Now, most of you listening, I'm going to assume, understand the structure as, well, this question was sent to me by a C2 student, and most of the people watching, I think, are of C1 or C2 level. I am assuming, therefore, that the real problem here is knowing when to use a perfect simple or a perfect continuous tense. Well, you needn't worry too much. A lot of the time, they are completely interchangeable. There are, however, certain times when you need to be able to distinguish between the two. Let's take me as a case study. If I were to talk to you about permanent situations in my life, that is to say things that are, were, or will be true at the time mentioned, for example, where I live or where I work, then it really doesn't matter whether I use perfect simple or perfect continuous.
The year is currently 2021, and I have lived in Spain for 12 years. You could also say, I have been living in Spain for 12 years, and both would be correct. Living is not a completed action in the past. I continue to live here, nor is it an exceptional action which I have been doing right up to the point of speaking, and therefore it doesn't really matter which tense I use. The same would be true for working, as I mentioned before. I have worked in Spain for 12 years, or I have been working in Spain for 12 years, doesn't really matter either, as, once again, it is not a completed action. I still work here, nor am I specifying that I have been working right up until the point of speaking to you. The same goes for the past perfect, simple and continuous. If we go back 2 years to 2019, I can tell you that at that point I had lived in Spain for 10 years, or that I had been living here for 10 years, and the same with my work. I had worked in Spain for 10 years. I had been working in Spain for 10 years, with no difference in meaning. And if we go forward into the future, 3 years, assuming everything stays the same, in 2024 I will have lived in Spain for 15 years, or I will have been living in Spain for 15 years, I will have worked in Spain for 15 years, and I will have been working in Spain for 15 years, all with no difference in meaning. Now, there are times when it is indeed important to know which tense to use and when. Are you talking about completed actions, achievements, accomplishments, experiences? Well, in that case, you're going to need a perfect simple tense.
Let's take, for example, the completed action of having read a book. I could tell you that this year I have read several novels, and by using the present perfect simple, I would be making it obvious to the listener that I have finished those novels. If, on the other hand, I were to say, I've been reading several novels, it would suggest that I have not yet finished them. Now, if we were to go back into the past, let's say to 2011 again, I think it would be true to say I had only read one novel in my entire life. And it would be very strange to say I had only been reading one novel in my life, as though I had spent all of my life reading the same novel and never finishing it. And what for my future reading habits? I hope I'll have read at least 10 more novels by this time next year, though that may be a bit ambitious. But what really wouldn't sound very logical would be to say, I hope I'll have been reading at least 10 more novels by this time next year. What on earth would I be thinking if I said something like that? Now, what if we are talking about an action that is happening at the time mentioned, and we really want to emphasize that it was happening right up until that point? Well, then you're going to need a perfect continuous tense. Here's a good example. Does this ever happen to you? You're talking to someone for ages and you don't realize that they can't hear you because of the place they are in the house or in another room. For some reason, the echo doesn't reach them. And then, to your utter disbelief, they say to you, "Did you say something?" And you, all flustered, respond, "What? I've been talking for 5 minutes. I've been talking this whole time." So you're angry and maybe you sulk, but later you get over it. And the other person says to you, "Hey, sorry about before." And you say, "Well, I know, it's just I'd been talking for ages and I thought you were listening, but you couldn't hear me. But I had been talking for 5 minutes for ages and you didn't hear a word of it," which was really annoying. Now, what about future perfect continuous? Using the verb talk. I don't know. Maybe, hey, when I get home tonight, I just want a bit of quiet time. I just want to watch the TV. I don't want to talk much because, I'm a teacher, and when I get home, I'll have been talking for 3 hours non-stop. So I really won't want to talk anymore.
Okay, so hopefully that video helped Marta and anyone else who's watched it. I don't know, leave some comments under the video if there's anything you didn't understand or if you want me to elaborate on anything in the video. Hey, and click the blue button. Have a look at the membership options on the channel and help me to live my dream. Okay, I'll see you in the next one.